Marie-Josée Prévost says her father, Paul, was full of life. So though he was 81, it came as a shock when he suffered a massive stroke.
C'était sûr qu'il resterait paralysé.
Doctors said it would be risky to operate. He'd likely remain paralyzed and unable to speak. A doctor raised the possibility of organ donation.
C'était dans le flou.
But Prévost said it wasn't clear what needed to happen or when. Feeling unsupported and unprepared, they ultimately refused to consent. According to Transplant Quebec, there were only 164 donors last year. A recently tabled private members' bill on presumed consent is meant to change that. If passed, everyone would be an automatic donor unless they opt out. This past spring, Nova Scotia became the first province to adopt similar rules.
But it's not going to be the magic bullet on its own.
Transplant Quebec's medical director of transplantation says for a system of presumed consent to work, Quebec needs better infrastructure. He says a recent government promise to increase the number of donation physicians from 10 to 32 is a good first step.
This network will ensure that in their institutions there's a set way of recognizing organ donors and making sure that organ donation opportunities are not missed.
He'd also like Quebec to follow Ontario's lead. Designated hospitals there have to flag every imminent patient death to Ontario's Organ and Tissue Donation Agency. This lets them identify eligible donors and approach families for consent in a timely manner. Prévost told her children she wants to be a donor and wishes her father had done the same. She later learned he had consented to organ donation on the back of his health insurance card, but he'd never discussed it with them. Which is a shame, she said, because he could have saved lives. Leah Hendry, CBC News, Montreal.
Now, we found that across Canada, next of kin retain the right to block a family member's donation. Even in Nova Scotia, where presumed consent is the law, families continue to be consulted. Manitoba told us that the vast majority of families allow donations to proceed so long as they've been told of their relatives' wishes. But when the intent wasn't known, more than half blocked the donation.